All right, good day, hi, and welcome. I just realized I deleted a bunch of videos I didn't upload yet. That was really dumb. That was morning stupidness. I don't know if you guys ever suffer from morning stupidness, but sometimes I do. So I didn't see any mice in here so far. Well, I'll get two more places to check. Let's check to see if there's any mousicles in here. It's actually not too bad in here. It's nice and warm, considering for October. No mice. 15 degrees. Humidity sitting at 70. Crashing into the wall. What about in here? No mouse. They get to survive for today. Microphone cables everywhere. I'm gonna have to go wireless mics everywhere. I have to bring my plants outside. Put plants are on the ground. I'll bring them out in a bit. But we've got to go look at the morning view. No frost, but it is cool out there. Very damp. Rain last night. Oh, I wanted to check. Is my floor dry? Walls dry, floor's dry. Okay. I'm looking into the basement. I'll show you. Like so. That's what's happening. So it rained last night. Not hard, but it rained. And the sun is out this morning. I'll just widen there. Okay. Let's go look at that morning view. Nice morning view. Okay, it's cold. I'm going back inside. All right. Like, everything's dewy and wet. So that'll be good for the plants when I put them out there. All dewy and wet. Let that run for a minute or two. I'm gonna put that away. Gonna have to do another sweep up. Gonna have to test out my vacuum to see if it works. Like actually sucks stuff up. If that is the case, I should be good. Alright. It's not bad in here. See the humidity's at 70%. Big jars there. Drying. I'll put my coat on too. I can get really cozy before I work. Might have to do some painting today. It's dry enough. And I got a mask for a whole bunch of flowers today. Today's going to be your dirty hands kind of day. It's that time of the season. I was talking to my buddy Paul last night. And he's got nothing this week. I got nothing with him. So I'm going to I'm trying to stretch out my season as long as I can. I got my freaking invoice for my freaking insurance. Because right now, of course, the freaking mail is on strike again. Such a pain in the ass. Every time these Canada Post or whatever goes on strike, it's like it ends up costing me more money. Like they don't care that they disrupt everybody else, right? Anyway, I won't go on about that because I can rant quite a bit about government workers for sure. Entitled bastards. But the thing is that I gotta like everything's email now. So like even the hydro here, like I wanted a paper bill, but they're not sending them out right now because they don't. Like they're doing everything online. I think that's probably part of it. I think that's what a lot of this stuff is to force everybody online, right? And which okay, I could do that, but there's a problem with that. My Y button and my T button don't work on my computer, right? And so when you go to type your email in, like if you're on a Yahoo account, like I am, guess what? You're never gonna be able to. You can't copy and paste it and put it in. It won't accept. You have to type it in, and yeah. So you say, well, just get another keyboard. Guys, I live in the middle of nowhere. Like I can't just go out and get something. Right? Like it's never easy for me. Like that's one thing about country living and country living without a vehicle. I looked at a couple of vehicles last night online, but anyway, I forgot I left the insurance on the freaking Road Reaper there, and it's like okay, it's October, and usually October is when my insurance policy's up, and I got to make sure that I cancel the Road Reaper. But I gave them a blank check. I just don't remember which account I gave them the blank check for. Because I have two bank accounts, and so I'll have to call them either tonight or tomorrow. If I'm off tomorrow, chances are I'll be off tomorrow and then work Friday and Saturday. That's fine. If I'm off tomorrow, I'll do a little more work down here as always, and more importantly, finish up my song. I was playing with the eight string last night. I did record the eight string yesterday, uh, enough to say it's recorded for the idea, just so I can listen to it and say, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. But when you record a song, like if you're doing it at home, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing it, if you're gonna go to a studio, make sure you know your songs back, like including the bass player. Like everybody has to have that song down so well. Like practice it for like 6 months. Like practice all your songs for like so that you can play them like a set list or whatever, and every little thing you're gonna do. Go to the studio, do that, and then like do recording one of it, and if you have time, do maybe two more takes of it that are slight variations of, and then pick the one you like the best, right? So I've got strangely, it's strange how I record. Most people start with the drum tracks and stuff like that, but my setup, I start with the guitar and the vocals and stuff like that. I used to do the vocals last, but now I do the vocals. I think I'm going to do the vocals, the guitar, then the vocals, then the drums, then the bass. Because the bass I could always throw it in last, right? Um, the bass is not the easiest uh, because you got to sonically figure out where it's going to be, especially if you're using extended range guitars, or else everything just sounds like mud. So I kind of use the when if the guitar goes high, then the bass goes low. If the bass goes high, the guitar goes low, and most of the time the guitar is low. So I actually to widen out the frequencies of the song, I tend to not be in the same pocket as the bass all the time, like not in the same you know range as the bass all the time. Just it gives it a different dynamic sound. Um, Sometimes okay, yeah, when you just want it real straightforward and really heavy, yeah, okay, just everybody jamming on the same note kind of thing. Um, but I also kind of look at it as it makes more sense to widen out the song so you get a differential from that distinguish from the bass to the guitar so that you could actually hear both instruments, right? This idea that the best bass is the one you don't hear, I understand the concept of it, right? When you hear these like massive sounding guitar double track guitars, but what makes them sound so punchy and massive is the bass blending in so well. I get that. Um, and there's so many ways to utilize that. And sometimes going higher with notes on the bass, what bass players refer to as the money zone, sometimes it's good to get out of the money zone and just add a little more octane in there for liveliness. So you're not at the lowest frequency possible all the time. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't, right? But some people are convinced that there's only, like you only use this much of the bass, but there's 22 frets there. Use them up. You know what I mean? Get creative. You'd be surprised what it kind of like. You can play a root note and that'll sound good, but sometimes you can play an interval up at a higher register that sounds way better, and it can really change the dynamic. You can can make so many more alterations on the sound just by doing that. But that's not necessarily a music theory hack, but it's like a songwriting hack that trying stuff like that, playing it in like usually any kind of chord shape or um, interval. You usually have about 5 spots on the neck where you can do it. You know what I mean. For any key, right? There's usually 5 positions. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes there's more. It all depends on what you're playing. But the bottom line is that when I record this song, if I can finish it up tomorrow, and then make my decision whether I'll release it like that or do another take. Once it's completely recorded the way I want, then I'll probably do like a version 2, a version 3, see what comes out, right? And you listen to all 3 versions. Maybe you hang on to them for like a week and a half, and then you say, you know what, I'm taking number 2, or I'm taking number 1, or I'm taking number 3, whatever version. What you do 10 versions of it, uh, but it's the one that's going to speak to you the most. The one that, okay, well, this is going to convey what I want the most. So I've been listening to a whole plethora of different type of metal genres. My main metal genre is thrash metal. Like that's my favorite, pretty much of all time. But the last past couple of years, I'd say since 2019, when I made the conscious decision to change my playing style, which is like a leopard trying to change their spots. But it is possible to go from one type of player to a different type of player, and getting into more modern metal sounds rather than the classic, like a 90s rock metal sound. I still have that in my playing. It's ingrained in there, right? Um, the way I structure things and stuff like that. Whereas somebody learning metal today, if they started off with metalcore, they're not going to be able to write songs naturally that come out like a 90s metal. You know what I mean? Like, because I mean, you have to understand, like, a lot of the new metal bands, like, they're way out there on how they produce a song, right? Some is just guitar geekery, like here's a 3 minute song with 15 breakdowns in it. You know what I mean? Like, how many breakdowns do you need in a song? I say go with sometimes less is more. You know what I mean? Where just like keep your song a little bit more straightforward so people can get into it. But when you do the maybe 2, 3 breakdowns tops in your song, make it really stand out. But it like yeah, but this amazing breakdown leads into this amazing breakdown, and that leads into this amazing breakdown. They could be the most incredible breakdowns, but we used to call that a bridge. But the thing is that it loses its luster when it's just you're oversaturated with it, right? Because I was watching one band the other night. It's just like, okay, they're trying to do the Lorna Shore thing, which okay, yeah, they do a lot of breakdowns in the Lorna Shore stuff. But there's so many bands that are trying to copy that, right? And the problem with that is you don't stand out as much. Like for example, I was watching Spectre Studios there with Glenn Frick. Love him, hate him. I find he's a comical guy. Like his his stick is basically yelling at the camera, calling people idiots. But here's some cool gear here's why you do this over that. He's very entertaining anyway. But he had some new speakers called what were they called? Not Reapers. Those are new. Avengers or something like that. Whatever they were called anyway. Uh, they were very similar to my C90s, and I was listening to them like, okay, here's the everybody using the vintage 30 gets this sound. You know what I mean? Or a variation of this sound. And the vintage 30 sound is very distinctive once you know it. Like it's a very naturally sculpted mix. Like it's the dime bag sound for sure, Because he eventually went to from Jaguars to vintage 30s. It's the Eddie Van Halen sound. It's Eddie Van Halen is probably the one that really put vintage 30s on the map, which are good speakers, but everybody uses them. Where I got like if I can get another cabinet, one that I'm just going to use as a speaker swap cabinet, I can even make one. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a brand name. But the ones I'm looking at are the Warehouse 50-watt Reapers, and the other ones that I'm looking at are the Eminence Swamp Things. And I would love to be able to mix the two, like two and two, right? So my cabinet would have. I wouldn't do it in my Mesa Boogie cabinet. I'd get another cabinet, but diagonally Swamp Things, diagonally Reapers, just so you have some on the bottom, one of each on the bottom, one of each on the top, and like that, right? Uh, but I might not need a 4x12. You know what I mean? Because unless you've got more, if you put a mic on each speaker, you could really get some like crazy dynamics. But I can only use two mics at a time anyway with my setup. But if you could use four mics at a time, you could mic three speakers and put one mic on the back of the cab and just cover so many frequencies. But when do you say when, right? Like it's like, is it really going to give you that much more in the mix? It's hard to say. But anyway, these speakers, they had a total different sound, and it's very similar to the sound I got. Like I say, you could put anything through that Mesa Boogie cab over there, sitting on the floor. That thing is awesome. My bass sounds good through it. Like everything sounds good through that. I've never heard a bad sounding guitar through it. And I've had cheap guitars play through it and really expensive guitars play through it. It's such a great. So I agree with Glenn on the speaker thing. Like the speaker is very important to your sound. And unfortunately, most guitar amps are getting, it's like, okay, everything has a vintage 30 in it. And it's popular or whatever, but there's no variety. You know what I mean? Like it's everything. I mean, there's variety. Like if you get the, like vintage 30s, like all the metal amps are going to get the vintage 30s. And I think there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, they're probably economical because there's so many of them out there and they're so mass produced that it's probably the cheapest speaker you can put into a production amp, right? Um, like you got to think from a manufacturer's point of view, right? Whereas something like if you have, say, like a classic rock amp, like my Hot Rod Deluxe that the camera's sitting on, that has I believe it's a Jensen speaker in there, the Black Widow. But there's like 10 versions of that speaker. So every time a Hot Rod, every production run of the Hot Rod Deluxe, which has been around forever and a day, there's like, here's the new version of that same speaker. And so you might get, mine has the Fender Black Shadow in it, which is a Jensen speaker, but, or sorry, the Black Widow in it, which is a Jensen speaker. And they're not all built equally. I do plan on swapping out speakers in this amp. If I don't plan on getting rid of this amp because this is my Dad Rocker classic rock amp, right? The Hot Rod Deluxe does that very well. It doesn't do the metal thing very well because it can't compress. Like the amp doesn't compress hardly at all. It's really meant for classic rock sounds and clean sounds and stuff like that. But I did there was some guy, he did something like 25 different speakers in the Hot Rod Deluxe. And there was a couple of speakers like, because I'm thinking cleans, I'm not thinking high gain, right? So I'm like, oh, that really takes out a lot of the muddiness. That could work, right? So speakers are very, very important. Microphones are very, very important. Now, the thing about the SM57, which has been around since, I think 1957 or whatever it's been around for a long time. God knows what the original version versus the modern version is, like how much of a difference there is. But they're a very unique mic in the fact that they record very quietly for what they are, and they're still cheap. Like, I mean, $120, you got yourself a microphone that, world class musicians have been using forever. But is there better for cheaper out there? I don't know if there's better for cheaper out there. There's different for cheaper, but not better for cheaper. But it really does record quite well. It has its flaws, and it does give you a very distinctive characteristic in the sound, just the way it picks up. So I do want to get some really good guitar cab mics, which something that's there's some really good ones out there that will give you different sounds, so that you don't have the Vintage 30 Classic 57 or the Vintage 30 the SM57 sound that everybody else has, right? So these are some of the things that I'm going to consider for like mics. I'll always have an SM57 because you can use those mics live. I've been on stage with them millions of times. SM58, SM57. If you don't know microphones, you don't know where to start, you want something that's good, you want to go gigging, you want to record, you want to do it all, and you have enough for two mics, you get an SM57 and an SM58. Can't go wrong with it. They're industry standards, and they're not expensive. That's the thing. They're not that expensive. But do a little bit of research. Like, the world's your oyster when it comes to microphones. It's just, almost everybody defaults to those two mics, right? Because they're so well known. Like, you can't go wrong with them. But it will give you the same sound everybody else has, right? So I'm thinking in terms of extended range guitars. I tend to like higher wattage, more headroom on my speakers. It cleans up. Like, what you can do is run a 1 watt tube head, right, through a powerful cabinet, and then you get the clarity, you get all the everything you're going to need. The problem is when you're over pushing the amp and the speaker, it just becomes really muddy and stuff like that, right? So the other problem you have is if you have, like, say, like a 300 watt head or a 100 watt head, and a really powerful cabinet like that with 360 watts on that cabinet. And if you had the one with the EVs, you'd have a 600 watt cabinet. That's crazy. You have so much headroom that you almost can't get any tube breakup or whatever. Like, it's too clean. You hear everything perfectly, but like, if you want high gain, your gain is just going to sound very. It sounds like you're running half gain all the time. You know what I mean? So what a lot of people do is they go with a really, like the Vintage 30. What it was designed to do was give you the, pushed speaker sound, at lower volumes. So you could really get, like insane amounts of distortion on there. You could really get all that. I have to listen for my client because her car is really quiet. So I was gonna go open my front door just so if she comes by, I can hear it. Yeah. Just it's kind of cool. We'll open it. It's not too bad in here. Like, we're about a quarter way through October, and I've got the hatch still open there, so I'm pretty happy about that. Anyway, I'm just gonna pause it here.